Hi, I'm Adam Drake, and today I want to talk about the weight of your vehicle and some of the advantages to having a lighter vehicle and also the advantages of having a heavier vehicle. Now, depending on the application, you may want a heavier vehicle at all times or a light vehicle at all times. And first we'll start by talking about truggies. So in truggy, we're running the same size engine or same power plant that we run in our buggy in most cases. So for the overall weight of the vehicle, the power to weight ratio is a little bit off compared to a buggy. So for truck, I would say you would always kind of gear towards wanting your vehicle to be on the light side. A lighter vehicle is going to accelerate faster, it's going to brake faster, be a little bit more nimble on the track, change directions a little bit quicker. And typically with a truck, they're really easy to drive. They have a wider footprint. They have more tire tread in contact with the ground. So if you're able to reduce the weight of a truggy, in most cases, it's going to be faster. Maybe a little bit more difficult to drive, but the lap times you're able to produce will be quicker. Now on buggy, it's kind of the opposite. So you have less contact patch with the ground from your tires. You have the same power plant with a lighter vehicle that has a shorter wheelbase and also not as wide of track width. So that's why you'll see a lot of times in buggy, like we'll have a 20-gram weight in the back, or sometimes we add weight to the front. A lighter vehicle is going to do all those things that I just talked about with truggy, except buggy is typically harder to drive. Now, that doesn't mean you want to just stack on a bunch of weight, make this thing a tank to make it easy to drive, because again, it'll be easier to drive, but in most cases, the lap times will be a little bit slower. So for me, I try to be really critical with the weight placement and distribution on my vehicle. So on the top side of my vehicle, I like to run the Lunsford titanium screws. Not only do they look super cool, but they also reduce weight up high. And if you reduce weight high, the chassis will roll less, it will be more stable, and I feel it's just a better way to kind of set up your car. Now, on the bottom side of my car, or even in some of the like really high stress areas that are up high, I'll still use steel screws. Like I use steel screws for the shock mounts. But any of the screws that are either 4mm or in areas that I feel are not super high stress, I'll run just standard steel screws. And then obviously the bottom of the vehicle, I'll use steel screws. With the suspension arms, we use the carbon plates. I'll use titanium screws there to reduce the unsprung weight, make the suspension be able to move and react faster. That's also why I use the Avid titanium domed droop screws and also the titanium shock pins, just trying to get rid of some of that unsprung weight. But in general, with a buggy, I don't worry about trying to get close to the minimum weight, because in the past I have tried to do that and it seemed like I could never get the vehicle as easy or comfortable to drive. And I think that's also why a lot of times guys, you'll hear them say like, man, my e-buggy just always works. I don't have to change the setup as often or kind of chase tires. It's because the e-buggy weighs a lot more. The battery and the motor is considerably heavier. So with my nitro vehicle, I try to reduce weight in places that I feel are either up high or part of the drivetrain. Like I run the Flashpoint aluminum cross pins in the diffs. I use titanium screws to secure the ring gear and spur gear in my diffs so that I'm able to get that acceleration. But just be careful and be critical to not try to make your vehicle so light that it becomes difficult to drive. I guess the nice thing with a light vehicle is You can then add or place weight in the areas that you want, but from what I found is anytime I end up having to stack a bunch of weight, it's more of a risk of that weight breaking or falling off. So you got to just kind of have a good balance of trying to make it look cool with the titanium screws, reduce or lower the center of gravity, but I don't worry about putting titanium screws on the bottom of the vehicle or doing things that will reduce weight down low. In doing so, I feel like the car is just more consistent on long runs and will just be easier to drive and easier to set up from track to track.